Joining me live. Here we are. How can we make staff meetings more engaging? Obviously, things aren't normal. I'm at a school today working with and coaching middle leaders, and I'm going to be meeting with them all day long, and this is how we're meeting. Is this the new normal? I mean, things were tough last year. How can we make them any better this year?
Yeah, I mean, you think about meetings, and for a lot of people, meetings are just sort of there's got to be something sharp I can thrust into my skull, right? I mean, like they come to meetings with this thought that it's going to be some kind of hazing ritual at best, right? And it just doesn't have to be that way. So, whether we're meeting via Zoom, whether we're meeting in person and masked up, whether things were normal or whatever, the real question is, are people leaving inspired, right? And I think that that's actually not the mountain to climb that a lot of people think it is.
So now, interestingly, you use the word inspired, and teachers especially require, it just seems like that sort of intimacy of being with their students and close to each other seems so important. But now we're socially distanced, and a lot of how our behaviors are governed are influenced by this new reality. So how can we really inspire people during a time when we're so distant?
So what has always inspired us are stories, right? So if you are a teacher, then you're on board with the idea that there are kids who begin to see new possibilities for themselves as a result of a really cool, memorable learning experience. If you are a school leader, you're on board with the idea that when people come together and really get to brainstorming in cool ways, exploring stuff together, kind of just getting into that space where they're enjoying a certain kind of learning as well, then great things happen. But what happens is people kind of get in their head, at least with meetings, right? They're kind of in that space of, oh, well, like somebody's going to read a bunch of announcements. Well, that's a bad idea, right? But it happens again and again and again at school after school after school. So one of the, I kind of take people through a process. There's this session that I do called Much Better Staff and Team Meetings. And people come out of the woodwork because they need that, right? And so they're kind of in that space of like, anything you can tell me. And so we just talk about how to like get into a much more positive frame for how you started. That's not like just, doing the flag. It's about talking about certain kinds of successes in ways that we don't, and building on those things in ways that we haven't. And beginning to use stories to get past our own hangups with regard to how we interact professionally. And so, you can see the link on the screen right now. Or it was there a minute ago.
Coming back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, in nextvista.org/resources/inspiration, I've been collecting these wonderful short videos for years that are really good for getting people to talk about what inspires them. And how to look at the world in different ways, and what can that mean for what we do as teachers, and when we're teaching our grade level, and when we're teaching our subject, and when we're trying to get our community to understand what's special about our school.
So I was kind of switching to this next caption because when I reflect on what you're saying is a way to make staff meetings more engaging and to help people leave inspired is we need to infuse narrative and stories into it. And that's something that I think teachers would love to talk about, like what's going on in their classrooms with their students. What are the good things happening? And so, why do you like talking about staff meetings? Because it's just great getting people to talk about these stories and sharing and connecting, right? Would that be a fair way to summarize it?
I would say so. I mean, it's not brain surgery, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to talk about things in a way that works for us. That itself has some complications because, when you think about successes in school, how do teachers talk about it with each other? Well, it might be the kind of thing where as soon as you say something positive from your class, people are like, that person's bragging. Well, that's a fairly unproductive way of looking at trying to pull some new idea in to get to the kid that you haven't reached yet, because let's assume that you're not reaching every last kid in your class. Right? The chances are pretty good that there's room for improvement in what you do, right? Like if you're like, nope, not me, then you've got other issues, right? But on the other hand, if what happens is, you've created a set of conditions in which people look at what's happening to say, this kid did this and this was new for this reason. And then people are comfortable coming back with, what happened to get you there, right? And that becomes the frame for how they talk about things. Man, that's a much better meeting and a much better personal and professional experience And so a lot of what I do with teachers is try to get them to understand that little things make you better. And so if what you're trying to do is you're trying to like, I just want to have this amazing time every day at school. Well, I mean, there's no like simple way to do that, but if you can add this and then this and try this technique and learn from that and develop this kind of conversational pattern with your colleagues and your students, things just get better and better and better. And pretty soon you're like, wow, I'm a much different teacher than I was a few months ago.
It's interesting. There was a study done out of Stanford where it indicated that 2/3 of feedback in schools was actually critical. It wasn't positive. So 2/3 of the feedback teachers were getting and sharing with each other actually wasn't positive or productive in that sense of, kind of building spirit and inspiring. So, you mentioned this sort of gateway of being able to share practice, where a lot of teachers might feel like, it's bragging or whatnot. Actually, one of the things that teachers need to start doing more is bragging, just to kind of build up that sort of that atmosphere and that environment so that we can start sharing those good practices and see how they percolate into other areas. So now that's the teacher and the principal, Rushton. Now, interestingly enough, what brought us together is you're going to be keynoting a technology conference for ACAMIS October 17th here in this beautifully added caption I have. We have the URL for people to find it and get the information and the details about this conference. It's going to be a free live stream. We're going to be promoting this more through these pages in the coming weeks and days. But hey, give us a little idea about what you're going to be talking about in this keynote, because the title or the conference theme is Building Connections, and your keynote is Big Challenges Now, Bright Future Ahead. And that sounds like a really positive narrative to sort of end this stream with.
So, there's so much about what we experience at the moment that is new, and it's annoying and like, oh my God, like this is exhausting me. And yet there are pieces within it that are the seeds that can become the much better who we are as professional educators. And so I think that this is a time at which we can start saying, what is it that becomes different about who we are going forward? We've been doing so much putting out the fires, right? Oh, there's this problem right now, there's this issue, there's that, and being able to stop and say, hey, I've learned something about kids who need something a little different. I can bring something different to my game than I may have thought I could 8-10 months ago, right? We are all, as teachers, capable of doing more than we realized as a result of having been thrown into the very deep end of the pool. But that means that if we embrace what we've learned, we might be able to reach kids that we've never reached before. And that to me is a pretty exciting thought.
That's great. And I just want to thank you so much for, during these times, participating in this stream with me, helping us better understand how we can not only kind of develop these narratives, but how these narratives can be inspirational for our staff, but now going one step further and talking about this keynote, about how we can use these narratives to reach even deeper for the children that probably need us most, especially during these trying times. And that was a big part of this technology conference and theming it as Building Connections, because, this whole sort of idea of it takes a village. Well, that village is, if that's our school, we need to start building those closer connections with our staff and our peers so that we can get greater insight to all students' needs, not just our one class, but reaching out across classes. So I really look forward to that keynote. Thank you again for joining me live from Yaozhong International School in Hong Kong. And here you are, Rushton, out in Northern California. I look forward to seeing you on the 17th.
Looking forward to being part of it.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.